If you clicked on this video, I would guess probably you have one of these. Anything with smooth twist barrel, FX Royale, FX Revolution, FX Impact old generation with the smooth twist barrels, any one of them that is shooting smooth twist, and we want to see if these new hybrid slugs can perform in the smooth twist barrel. I looked here and there, I couldn't find any videos from anybody who has tried these slugs in smooth twist barrel. So I want to give it a shot. They're expensive, so there was a reason that I went for it, and I will discuss it in a minute. But the question is that, is this something that can perform in this rifle or anything like that? I assume we can extend the results from this gun to the other smooth twist FX air guns. So let's get into it and see how they perform. Before we get into anything, let me tell you, these slugs are expensive. As of today, these slugs, a pack of 100 retails for something around $21, $22. And compared to JSP, which you get a tin of 500 pellets, $23 almost, they are quite expensive. And these guys are not really cheap and everyday pellets. These guys scream performance. So if you want to put it in perspective, JSP will cost you 5 cents per pellet, while Hybrid Slugs 22 cents per shot. To give you a better idea, in today's market, a shotgun shell will cost you 28 cents. So for these slugs to find their way into my shooting routine, they should really perform. And for sure, I'm not going to use them for pest control. These guys are there for real hunt. I live in Canada, so typical hunts are grouse. And I typically hunt in either in Ontario or Quebec. We also have rabbits, these cottontail rabbits, they are everywhere. And we have snowshoe hare. They are slightly bigger, and you need quite a bit of knockdown power to kill them if you're going to hunt them with airgun. Cottontail, not a problem. You just sneeze and they die. So mainly, if I'm using slugs, I'm looking into these two birds as my target. Let me put it into perspective. When I hunt them, looks like this. I took these pictures last year when I went for grouse hunt to Quebec. So you see you have very heavy cover. Although JSP performs beautifully, but I need more knockdown power. You see, in such an area, you cannot afford finding an injured bird. You need something with instant kill shot, and most of the time you're going to be quick. Here's another view. You see exactly thick cover, but this thick cover sometimes is a good thing for an air gunner, because lots of trees means not that much of wind to interfere with your shot. But not always it's as beautiful. Here is the other challenge. When you wake up in the morning and you want to go for grouse hunt, you usually have this morning fog there, which cripples your rangefinder. So this is another area that a flat trajectory that they promote these slugs as becomes something interesting. So if my rangefinder doesn't work, the flatter trajectory that I have is going to work to my benefit. So if I just guesstimate the range that, okay, it's probably 35 or 40 yards, and I cannot really get it right. If I can get away with that with those slugs, that's going to be golden. Now let's see how they perform. So basically, flatter trajectory, better knockdown power is what I'm looking for. And of course, it should perform in the accuracy department. So before doing anything, I put the FX Hybrid Slugs into chronograph. With my FX Royale just out of the box without any change, that gun shoots these 22 grain slugs at 790 feet per second, while it shoots my JSP Diablo Exact at 870. So already a bit slower. But here is the interesting part. Although it is slower, even at 10 yards, it has slightly more energy. And because it has a much higher ballistic coefficient compared to JSP slugs, it not only maintained this energy up to the end, which is my 50 yards, at 50 yards, it has higher velocity compared to my JSP, which is very interesting. So now I'm excited to see how these guys perform. Every time that I shot even an apple or orange, I got a mushroom like this, which is fantastic, which is exactly what I want. Quick, instant kill, because I cannot afford searching those bushes looking for my bird. Flat trajectory, well, let's define it. To me, as long as it is less than ½ inch above or below of my crosshair is acceptable for me. I'm not a target shooter. I use this gun for hunting. So basically, I would say if I zero my gun at 35 yards, it's giving me acceptable deviation from 15 to 40 yards. So basically anything in between, without really touching the scope, I can take the shot and expect a good kill. And the interesting part is that when I really check it at this velocity, I really don't get that much of performance benefit. Basically from 15 again to 40. After that, again it drops. And the problem is with the initial velocity, because my gun does not produce this speed or higher speeds that is expected for the slugs. And of course, I can change the hammer spring tension on my PCP gun and get a higher velocity. And if I set the velocity to 870 feet per second, just like my JSP Diablo Exact, now I can extend this range to something around 45 yards. Again, between 40 to 45 yards, not a big difference. So really, there is not that much of difference when it comes to flatter trajectory. So the reality is that that flatter trajectory with my gun, with this setup, is not really a big deal. So let's summarize. It shoots slower, sends significantly more energy down the range. It preserves the energy for a longer range. And when it hits really hard. The only thing that is left, does it perform well in the accuracy department? And this is where things fall apart. As excited that I was, I put my target directly at 50 yards. And this is what I got from it. This is typical. I shot a few 5-shot groups at 50 yards. And this is the typical group that I get out of it. While the best, I really tried hard. The best group that I got was something like that. Almost 1-inch group at 50 yards. I'm an average PCP shooter, so let's set the expectation. I'm not a bench rest champion like lots of YouTubers that you have seen, but with my skill level, these are the groups that I typically get with JSP. All these groups are shot in exactly the same group. 5-shot group, 0.6. 5-shot group, again 0.6 of an inch at 50 yards. 10-shot group, 0.62 at 50 yards. 12-shot group, 0.6. 12-shot group, almost 0.6. So sorry to disappoint you guys, but when it comes to accuracy on FX Royale, or the only smooth twist barrel that I have, accuracy falls apart. Well, I was pretty much expecting that, because the shape of the slug does not stabilize itself like Diablo-shaped pellets. So this one requires a little bit more gyroscopic stabilization from rifling, which smooth twist does not provide. So this is what it is. If you're happy with this accuracy, you can go with it. Otherwise, you know what? This energy and this knockdown power is amazing. I really don't want 50 yards. Let's see how it performs at shorter ranges. I put my target at 20, 30, 40, and 50 yards, and then tried 5-shot groups at all these ranges. And here's the result. 20 yards, I got almost 0.4. 30 yards, it got closer to 1-inch group. 40 yards, this is again typical. 50 yards, you already know that. So really, to my expectation, up to 20, 25 yards, probably good group and effective range for the accuracy that I expect from my gun. But longer than that, not really. While if I put it side by side with JSP Diablo Exact 18 grain pellet, these are my typical groups. 30 yards, 40 yards, and 50 yards. And the last thing is that I have another alternative to these FX Hybrid Slugs these days, which is JSP Hades. Hades, when it comes to the accuracy, actually performs pretty good on FX Royale. So 20 yards, amazing. 40 yards, still very good. 30 yards, it gave me almost a 1-inch group. But here is the interesting part. Apart from this flyer, the rest stands at almost half an inch, which I've seen it quite often with JSP 80s. You have very good groups, but once in a while you get flyers. Part of the game. All in all, I shoot Hades comfortably up to 30-35 yards every single time. All right, let's face it. The Hybrid Slug miserably failed in my smooth twist barrel, or at least with FX Royale. Some people told me that you may want to increase the velocity by changing the hammer spring tension. Well, no. With such a perfectly tuned gun that shoots half-inch group every time at 50 yards, the last thing I'm going to touch is the hammer spring tension, regulator pressure, or anything else. I'm not going to go there. I'm super happy with this. Always keep in mind the distance that with this one, I can get something like a 1-inch group. With this one, I can hit the head every single time. So doesn't justify it, the extra power. On the other side, I have some other option as of this year, which is JSP Hades. And as you have noticed, they perform significantly better than these hybrids when it comes to accuracy. So I think that's the end to these slugs for the smooth twist barrel, but still I have another gun that I really want to test these ones to through it, and that is my RWS 54, the old school German-made beast of the airgun Springer. So I want to give it a shot, and as soon as I get some results, I will share it with you on this channel. Stay tuned, and thank you for watching.